The woods whispered, not with leaves rustling, not with animals scurrying, a deeper whisper, ancient, dark. Light flickered between the trees. My flashlight? No. This light danced, shifted, beckoned, drew me deeper. The air grew heavy, hard to breathe, not from exertion, from dread. Something watched, waited. I pushed on. Curiosity, or maybe something else, pulled me forward, into the abyss. The legend of Slender Man, a creature of darkness, tall, thin, featureless face, preying on the vulnerable, on the curious. I scoffed at the stories, urban legends, fairy tales to scare children, but deep down a seed of doubt remained. I was drawn to these woods, to prove the legend false, to face my fear, or maybe to find the truth. The air grew colder, the whispers louder. My gut screamed at me to turn back. I didn't listen. The stories had always been there, lurking in the back of my mind. Tales of people disappearing, of children vanishing without a trace. They said he could stretch his limbs, reach out and snatch you from the safety of your home. I laughed it off, called it nonsense. But as I stood there, in the heart of the forest, the laughter died in my throat. The trees seemed to close in around me, their branches like skeletal fingers. Every step I took felt heavier, as if the forest itself was trying to hold me back. The deeper I went, the more I felt like I was being watched. The shadows seemed to move, to shift, to follow me. I could hear my own heartbeat, loud and insistent, a drumbeat of fear. The stories of Slender Man were no longer just tales. They were becoming my reality. And then, I saw him. Just a glimpse, a fleeting shadow among the trees. My breath caught in my throat. Was it real, or was my mind playing tricks on me? I wanted to run, to flee back to the safety of my home. But something held me there, rooted to the spot. A morbid curiosity, a need to know, to see for myself if the legend was true. The figure vanished as quickly as it had appeared, swallowed by the darkness, but the fear remained, a cold, creeping dread that settled in my bones. I knew then that the legend of Slender Man was more than just a story. It was a warning, a call to those who dared to venture too far to seek out the unknown. And I had answered that call. Now there was no turning back. A twig snapped. Behind me. I whirled around. Nothing. Just the wind playing tricks. Or was it? My heart pounded in my chest. Adrenaline surged, fight or flight. But what was I fighting? A feeling of being watched intensified. Eyes boring into my back, following my every move. I quickened my pace, trying to outrun the feeling, outrun the darkness. But it was no use. It was closing in. The trees around me seemed to contort, their branches reaching out like grasping claws, trapping me. The shadows danced, taking on unnatural shapes, mocking me, taunting me, leading me deeper into the heart of the woods. I stumbled over a root. My flashlight flew from my grasp. Darkness enveloped me, complete and suffocating. Panic surged through me, clawing at my throat, threatening to consume me. I was trapped. Then I saw it. Standing at the edge of my flashlight beam, tall, unnaturally thin, its limbs elongated and distorted, its face blank, white, devoid of any features, yet I could feel its gaze piercing through me, reading my soul. Time seemed to stop. The air crackled with an unseen energy. My breath caught in my throat. I couldn't scream. It took a step closer, then another. Its movements were slow, deliberate, exuding an aura of power and menace. I was frozen in place, my mind racing but my body unable to respond. The forest around me seemed to fade into the background, leaving just me and this otherworldly figure. The darkness felt thicker, more oppressive, as if it was closing in on me. I could hear the rustling of leaves, the distant hoot of an owl, but all of it seemed muted, overshadowed by the presence of this entity. As it moved closer, I noticed the way its limbs seemed to stretch and bend in unnatural ways, almost as if it was made of some malleable substance rather than flesh and bone. Each step it took was accompanied by a faint, almost imperceptible sound, like the whisper of fabric against fabric. The air grew colder, and I could see my breath forming small clouds in front of me. My heart pounded in my chest, each beat echoing in my ears like a drum. I wanted to run, to turn and flee into the safety of the trees, but my legs felt like they were made of lead. The creature's blank face remained fixed on me, its featureless visage somehow conveying a sense of malevolent intent. It was as if it was studying me, analyzing every aspect of my being. I tried to call out for help, but no sound escaped my lips. The silence was deafening, broken only by the rhythmic crunch of leaves under the creature's feet. It was now just a few feet away, and I could feel the weight of its presence bearing down on me. The air around us seemed to hum with a strange electric energy, making the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. In that moment, I realized that I was utterly alone, with no one to save me from whatever fate this being had in store. The sense of dread was overwhelming, and I could feel tears welling up in my eyes. As the creature took one final step towards me, I closed my eyes, bracing myself for the inevitable. But then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the presence was gone. The air cleared, the oppressive darkness lifted, and I was left standing there, trembling and alone in the forest. Terror rooted me to the spot. Paralyzed by fear, I stood there, my heart pounding in my chest, each beat echoing in my ears like a drum. The darkness around me seemed to close in, wrapping me in a suffocating embrace. I could feel the cold, damp earth beneath my feet, but I couldn't move. My legs felt like they were made of lead, heavy and unyielding. My mind screamed at me to run, but my body refused to obey. It was as if an invisible force held me in place, mocking my helplessness. I could hear the rustling of leaves, the snapping of twigs, and the distant hoot of an owl. Every sound seemed amplified, adding to the cacophony of terror that filled my mind. I wanted to scream, to call for help, but my voice was trapped in my throat. Its long, slender fingers twitched, reaching out towards me. They moved with a slow, deliberate grace, as if savoring the moment. Each twitch sent a shiver down my spine, a reminder of the impending doom that awaited me. The fingers seemed to stretch and elongate, defying the natural order of things. They were pale and ghostly, almost translucent in the dim light, as if it could pluck me from existence with a single touch. The thought sent a wave of panic through me, but still, I couldn't move. I could feel the creature's malevolent gaze upon me, its eyes boring into my soul. It was as if it could see every fear, every doubt, every weakness. I was completely exposed, vulnerable to its whims. The air grew colder, the whispering intensified. The mist that swirled around me seemed to thicken, becoming almost tangible. It clung to my skin, seeping into my bones and chilling me to the core. The whispers were everywhere, surrounding me, filling my ears with their sinister murmurings. They spoke in a language I couldn't understand, but their tone was unmistakable. They were taunting me, reveling in my fear, a chorus of voices chanting in an unknown language, mocking my fear. The voices rose and fell in a haunting melody, their cadence hypnotic and unnerving. It was as if they were performing a dark ritual, one that I was the unwilling participant in. The chanting grew louder, more insistent, drowning out all other sounds. I could feel the vibrations in the air, resonating deep within me. I could feel its presence closing in, suffocating me. The weight of its malevolence pressed down on me, making it hard to breathe. It was as if the very air had turned against me, thick and oppressive. I could sense the creature's anticipation, its hunger for my fear. It fed off my terror, growing stronger with each passing moment. I was trapped, ensnared in its web of dread, draining the warmth from my body, replacing it with icy dread. The cold seeped into my very soul, leaving me numb and desolate. I could feel my strength waning, my resolve crumbling. The creature's presence was overwhelming, a dark shadow that blotted out all hope. I was lost, adrift in a sea of fear with no way to escape. The darkness closed in, and I knew that I was at its mercy. Adrenaline surged through me, breaking the spell. I scrambled back, scrambling for my flashlight, my only weapon. I stumbled to my feet and ran, blindly, frantically, crashing through the undergrowth, ignoring the pain. The whispers followed me. The feeling of being watched intensified. It was toying with me, hunting me. I didn't dare look back. I could feel its presence behind me, gaining on me, relentless, unstoppable. I burst out of the tree line, gasping for air, my clothes torn, my body bruised, but alive, for now. The memory of that night haunts me, the feeling of its gaze, the chilling emptiness of its face, the whispers. I can still feel its presence lurking in the shadows, watching me, waiting for me to let my guard down. My skepticism is gone, replaced by a deep, primal fear, a fear that I can never outrun. I returned to the woods, armed with cameras, with sensors, with a team of investigators, to document the truth. We found evidence, strange electromagnetic disturbances, unexplained temperature drops, and the whispers, always the whispers. But Slender Man remained elusive, a phantom in the darkness, a creature of legend, or something far more sinister. The experience changed me, forced me to confront the unknown, to acknowledge that some things defy explanation. I share my story as a warning. The woods hold secrets, dark and dangerous secrets. Beware the whispers. Do not tempt fate. Do not seek out the darkness, for it may be seeking you, and it may not let you go. The Slender Man is real, and it is waiting, watching, listening. Be careful who you talk to. Be careful what you seek. The truth is out there. But sometimes the truth is best left undisturbed.